My name is Marissa, and before I tell you what happened to me on Valentine's Day, I need you to understand something. I'm not a careless person. I don't meet strangers in dark alleys. I don't ignore red flags. I always share my location with my best friend. I screenshot profiles. I double-check last names. I've listened to enough true crime podcasts to know just how quickly things can go horribly wrong. That's why what happened still unsettles me to my core, because I did everything right. And it still didn't matter. It started about 2 weeks before Valentine's Day. I matched with a guy named Evan on Tinder. His profile looked completely normal. You know the type. He had hiking photos, one picture with a golden retriever, a short bio about working in finance and being new to the city. He wasn't overly polished, but he wasn't sloppy either. He just seemed average, safe. We messaged every single day, and he was wonderful. He was polite, patient, and surprisingly attentive. He remembered the small details I'd mentioned in passing, like how I hated crowded bars and that white roses were my favorite flower. Nothing about him felt rushed or inappropriate. If anything, he seemed refreshingly normal in a sea of dating app chaos. So when he asked me to dinner on Valentine's Day, I hesitated for a moment, but I eventually agreed. We chose a small Italian restaurant downtown. It was busy, well-lit, and very public. I even arrived early to settle my nerves and make sure the whole place felt comfortable before he got there. When he walked in, he looked just like his photos, but something was off. There was an energy about him that didn't match what I'd imagined. His smile was right, but his eyes were scanning the entire room before they landed on me, like he was assessing the space, not greeting his date. And when he hugged me, it lingered just a second too long. Dinner started off fine. The conversation flowed easily at first, but then gradually the questions started to shift. He asked where I lived, and then if I lived alone. He asked if my building had security. He asked where I usually parked my car when I came downtown. I tried to laugh some of it off, redirecting the conversation, but this small, tight knot started forming in my stomach. At one point, he casually mentioned, "I'm glad you decided to come tonight. Last time she didn't?" I asked him what he meant by that, and he just smiled, like he'd made some kind of harmless joke and brushed it off without any explanation. But the tone, it didn't feel like humor. When the check came, he insisted on paying and then quickly changed the subject, inviting me back to his place for wine. I declined politely. His reaction was subtle, but it was immediate. The warmth just drained from his expression, and it was replaced by something flat and calculating. He said he respected my decision, but the air between us felt completely different after that. It was tight, strained. I excused myself to go to the restroom and quickly texted my best friend that something just felt off. It wasn't full-blown panic yet, just a gut feeling. When I returned to the table, he was gone. For a split second, I felt this huge wave of relief. Maybe he'd left. Maybe I had just imagined all the tension. But as I stepped outside and walked toward my car, I saw him. He was standing right beside it. I had never told him which car was mine. I hadn't mentioned where I'd parked. Yet there he was, waiting, his hands in his coat pockets, smiling like there was nothing strange about it at all. He said he just wanted to make sure I got in safely. I told myself that maybe he'd just followed me discreetly from the restaurant, that maybe I was overthinking things. As I unlocked my car, he reached into his coat and pulled out a single white rose. He said he remembered it was my favorite. I took it, mostly because I just wanted to create some space between us. I wanted him to step back. As he handed it to me, he leaned slightly toward my car window and said, "I'll see you again." It wasn't phrased as a question. I drove home with my heart absolutely racing, checking my rearview mirror more times than I could count. By the time I reached my apartment, I actually felt a little foolish for being so shaken up. He hadn't threatened me. He hadn't touched me. Nothing concrete had actually happened. I locked my doors anyway and tried to calm down. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. It was a text from him saying he'd had a great time. Then another message came through. You forgot something. Before I could even think about how to respond, a photo came through. It was a picture taken from across the street, looking directly into my apartment building. My windows were clearly visible, and in the reflection of the glass, inside my own living room, I could see myself. I was holding the white rose. The caption underneath read, "Happy Valentine's Day." I called the police immediately. By the time they arrived, there was no one outside. A phone number he'd used was disconnected. His Tinder profile was deleted. The name he gave me, Evan, was fake. The job in finance was fake. Even the golden retriever in his profile picture turned out to be a stock image. There was nothing traceable, nothing solid enough for them to pursue. I deleted every single dating app the next morning. Every Valentine's Day since then, I buy my own flowers and I stay home. Because the worst part isn't that he found my apartment. It's not even the picture he sent. It's the fact that I still don't know how long he'd been watching me before that night, or whether he ever really stopped. Happy Valentine's Day from Frightful Untold Fables.